Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
So let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week?
In an article written by Josh Gerstein and Alexander Ward, we learned that the Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision. According to an initial draft, majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. The draft opinion is a full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision, which guaranteed federal constitutional protection of abortion rights, and a subsequent 1992 decision, Planned Parenthood v. Casey, that largely maintained the rights. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, Alito writes. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, he writes in the document labeled as the opinion of the court. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. Deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been fluid. Justices can and sometimes do change their votes as draft opinions circulate and major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts and vote trading, sometimes until just days before a decision is unveiled. The court's holding will not be final until it is published, likely in the next 2 months. The immediate impact of the ruling, as drafted in February, would be to end a half-century guarantee of federal constitutional protection of abortion rights and allow each state to decide whether to restrict or ban abortion. It's unclear if there have been subsequent changes to the draft, however. So, Andre, that begs the question, what are your thoughts on the court's proposed ruling of returning the issue of abortion to state governments to either ban or restrict?
I think that people are starting to realize what marginalized communities have been saying for decades. And that is the fact that the federal government has never been on our side. People need to wake up and smell the racism, sexism, and homophobia that pumps through the system of America. I mean, what's happening right now in the Supreme Court is an organized attack on the federal protections of, human rights. I mean, regardless of your personal beliefs on abortion, bodily autonomy is a human right, and the government should not have the right to tell someone what they can and cannot do with their own fucking bodies. I mean, these pro-life people are so infuriating to me because they keep trying to argue that there are so many people who want to adopt and there's so much childcare available, yet they are the same ones who vote against assistance programs for struggling parents, free healthcare for all, and often don't have any adopted children of their own. I mean, these pro-lifers never want to discuss what would happen to the mental health of the people who are forced to have children because they were sexually assaulted, or have children who grow up feeling like horrible because they were a product of sexual assault. I mean, pro-lifers never want to discuss how those who actually carry babies undergo a life-threatening surgical process that could possibly end with their death. I mean, these people are so obsessed with quote unquote saving a life, but they only care about that one specific part of pregnancy, the birth. After that, they are nowhere to be found. Also, don't you think it's kind of funny how the same people who are so against abortions, usually Christian conservatives, are the same people screaming, "My body, my choice," at the top of their lungs when the mask mandate was up and vaccination cards required to enter certain events and stuff like that? It's giving very much hypocrisy to me. That's kind of what it's serving.
Very.
Then there's the fact that there are some people who don't understand the repercussions this overruling could have on the federal protections of so many other rights. I mean, even if you don't have a uterus, you should be fighting just as hard against this, because should they strike down the decision and return the legality of abortion to states, this will be far from the end of it. I mean, if you are a part of any marginalized community and you don't think that they are coming after your federally protected rights next, like gay marriage, interracial marriage, and so many others, you are sorely mistaken. I mean, people all are always saying things like, wait till the older generation dies off, and then all the bad things they did and said will go away. But baby, just because they died doesn't mean their hate died with them. I mean, if that was the case, racism, homophobia, sexism, all that other bullshit would have vanished decades ago. But it's still alive and well in 2022. I mean, the players change, but the bullshit bigotry remains the same. People need to realize just how insidious hate is and how it depends on people letting their guards down to strike. I mean, just because we've made some progress doesn't mean that we're done fighting. It just means we have to fight harder to maintain the rights we do have. I mean, people need to wake up and realize what's really going on around us. I think that's honestly what needs to be happening. But Daquon, I want to pass the question back to you. What are your thoughts on this bullshit?
Child, it was a really strange day having the Met Gala talking about the Gilded Age of America and hearing about this draft opinion leaking at the same time. It was really just so much going on. Like, you think, oh, the Supreme Court is trying to send us back to that Gilded Age where nobody had rights. And so many people were shocked, but people have been saying that this was going to happen for decades. And we know that this has been a strategic plan for Republicans because, frankly, they were losing steam. We know that in 2012 at a Republican convention, Senator Lindsey Graham said that in the demographics race, Republicans are losing badly, and they're not generating enough angry white guys to stay in business for the long term. Because frankly, if we look at who votes Republican, the majority of their base is angry, racist, homophobic, sexist, all of the isms and phobias, white guys. And so it's very strategic to do something like ban abortions because if you haven't heard about it, there was this really important conservative book that was written called The Birth Dirt, which basically outlined how conservatives can kind of keep their power and keep a white majority in America. The three main things that they posit is one, paying people to give birth, because at that time, I think about 60% of all abortions were white women. So they had to give some type of incentive to increase the birth rate of white people in this country. But you can't just go out and pay people to have children because A, you don't want to spend that money. And B, with all of these already laws that are in place, you can't just pay white women to have babies and not pay people of other races to have children. The second thing that they could have done was have more white immigrants. But again, you can't really discriminate against all other immigrants and people of color from other countries. And so the third and, final thing that they posited was banning abortions. Like I mentioned before, 60% of the abortions at that time were white women. So if you ban abortions, that is 60% more people, more white children that can be brought up and turn into the angry white guys that the Republican Party needs. And we also know that, when it comes to the impacts of abortion and reproductive rights, that it's so necessary. It's so necessary for people of color because we know that when it comes to childcare and everything like that, people don't care about children of color. When we think about, the birthing process, people don't care about parents of color. That's why we have so many Black women and Black people with uteruses who die giving childbirth. And so for them, abortion is a way of protecting that parent, of protecting it, being like, well, there could be all of these complications during childbirth that could kill me as a parent. But of course, they don't want to hear that. They don't care because if black and brown people are dying from childbirth, but white women are getting less abortion and they're getting those angry white guys, that's all that matters. And so we also know that Roe was a landmark case for so many other things. Like you said before, this is not the end. This isn't going to be where they stop and be like, all right, we're done. We got Roe v. Wade. We're over. Because Roe gave a lot of precedent for things about somebody's right to privacy. So you can think about a lot of the, anti-sodomy laws that were on the books that kind of got overruled by Roe. That was basically like, as long as these are two consenting adults, we can't arrest gay people and homosexuals for having sex in behind closed doors because they have that right to privacy. There's also been a lot of laws about interracial marriages that have used the precedent of Roe. And we also know that there have been laws and precedent for contraceptives. And for me, I think contraceptives is their next target because if you're considering life begins at conception, you're going to get rid of any way to stop conception from happening. And so all of these different methods of birth control are going to go out the window because in this ruling, we see that they're like, oh, well, like adoption is an all perfectly fine alternative. And if they see adoption as an alternative, they're probably going to see abstinence as an alternative for all of these contraceptives. And so this is very strategic. It's giving very much, we need white people to run this country, and we don't want to become the minority because what if they do to us what we did to them? That would be crazy, right? And so I'm not surprised that this is happening. I don't know why people are so shocked. Well, it's because they don't listen to people of color, but that's a conversation for a different day. But I think that during this time, I'm not trying to, police emotions and feelings and
Yeah.
reactions because that's not my judge.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a time where we really need to think about things so much more. It's not just enough to be like, oh my gosh, the world is ending. This is crazy. Like Handmaid's Tale and like go crazy. Like have your moment, have your reaction because this is a very scary moment for a lot of people and that's valid. But also know that there have been so many reproductive rights organizations that have been saying that this was going to happen and that have been planning for this to happen. So do your research on reproductive rights organizations, see what they're saying, see what they're trying to do to create those protections for the people who need them. And donate your time, donate your capital, donate your energy for those causes. We also know that if something like this happens, yes, it's going to then go on to state representatives to decide whether abortion is legal or not in a state. And so this is why it's more important now than ever to pay attention to local elections. We all
Mm-hmm.
know that the federal government, there's so much going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very disheartening to only focus on those federal big elections because there's so much gerrymandering and everything like that, voter discrimination and disenfranchisement, that federal elections are just crazy. But these local elections are what matters the most during this time. So really hold your elected officials accountable. Tell them, like, you need to take hard stances on this stuff. And also, I hear a lot of rhetoric that's just like, well, Trump had three Supreme Court justices that he nominated. Like, if you voted for Trump or you didn't vote for Hillary in 2016 or whatever, this is your fault. And it's like, we also have to expand upon that even more because there have been plenty of times when, Democrats could have voted to codify Roe v. Wade to prevent
Mm-hmm.
this from happening, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is more than just trying to cast the blame on somebody else and clean your hands. Like, this is the time to get your hands dirty, to hold people accountable, to let your voice be heard, and know that this is not going to stop who we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that people really don't understand that this is no longer Trump supporters did this and da 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 did that. Honestly, at this point, you can point the fingers all you want, but that's not solving anything. That's not
Not at
fixing
all.
anything. That's not making any change. This is something that I think was planned for a while. Like it's an organized strategic attack. And it's specifically this particular case that they're trying to overrule because they know that once they do this one, if they can succeed on this, there is no telling what other rights they can take away now, or what other rights they can return to the state governments. Because let's not forget that, was it 13, Daquon, other states that don't say gay bill now, that there have other bills on the record like that?
Yeah.
This is organized. This is something that they're trying to return to state governments to decide, because they want to be like, okay, once we get Roe versus Wade out the way, then we can get that gay shit out the way. Then we can get that racism shit out the way. Then we can make a society that's completely surrounded around keeping white people safe and keeping white people from feeling bad and keeping straight white Christian people on the top. That's exactly what this is.
Exactly.
Now, in an article written on Entertainment News, we learned that Bill Gates is admitting he made mistakes in his marriage, but he won't be delving into particulars. A year after he and his ex-wife Melinda Gates jointly announced their split after 27 years of marriage, the Microsoft mogul is being faced with renewed questions about his fidelity. During an interview Tuesday on Today, co-anchor Savannah Guthrie broached allegations of extramarital affairs, asking the 66-year-old philanthropist, "Were you unfaithful in your marriage? Is that one of the reasons there was a divorce?" Bill responded by saying, "I certainly made mistakes and I take responsibility. As for the specifics of those mistakes," he says, quote, "I don't think delving into the particulars at this point is constructive. But yes, I caused pain and I feel terrible about that." Last May, his spokeswoman confirmed to Washington Post in an emailed statement, "There was an affair almost 20 years ago, which ended amicably." When asked about whether Bill had multiple affairs, Melinda told CBS Morning's Gayle King that those are questions he needs to answer. While discussing the affair he admitted to, Melinda told Gayle, "I certainly believe in forgiveness, so I thought we had worked through some of that. However," she noted, quote, "it was one moment. It wasn't one moment or one specific thing that happened. There was just a point in time where there was enough there that I realized I just wasn't healthy, and it just wasn't healthy, and I couldn't trust what we had." So this begs an interesting question, Daquon. Do you think that a relationship can survive if a partner cheats?
Listen, cheat on me if you want to.
I'm screaming at the scissors. Not the scissors. Where do you get the fucking scissors from, bitch? Everybody.
I have no idea. But let's be honest. Every relationship is going to look different. Everybody has different boundaries, whatever.
Yeah.
I will say, for me, cheating is an absolute deal breaker.
Yeah.
Because I don't care whether it was one time or you were drunk or it was just a mistake, you weren't thinking, blah, blah, blah. It's over and done at that point, because what that says to me is you decided to keep secrets from me. You decided to go behind my back. You decided to essentially deceive me. And once trust is broken down in a relationship that I'm in, frankly, it is very hard for you to gain my trust again and for me to trust you again. And so that's why I say, for me, you cheat on me, we're done. I'm leaving. I know my worth, and I'm going to protect my energy. And I'm not going to let you, disrupt any of that, because what happens is there's so much that goes on in your head. You're thinking, am I doing something wrong? Am I not doing X enough? Like, why would they feel the need to go out and get whatever from somebody else? Like, am I not doing enough? And I'm not going to go through that because I know that I'm good. I know that I have my boundaries. I set my boundaries, and I'm not going to go crazy trying to wrap my head to justify somebody else crossing that boundary. But we have seen plenty of relationships where cheating happened and they were ended up recovering from that. And that's beautiful and that's great. But you can't always count on that happening. And you're definitely not going to count on it when it comes to me.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that there are some partners who can continue a relationship after they found out that their partner cheated, but I'm not one of those people either. I, having an open line of honest communication is necessary in all my relationships. So if there is ever a time where my partner doesn't feel validated, satisfied, or happy with our current situation, I have no problem discussing ways in which we can rectify said situation. Which is why if they cheated on me, it would be the end of the relationship, like you said. If either of us was seriously considering being with someone else outside of the relationship we established, then we need to break up.
Right.
I've always been of the mindset that no one has the power to take away my partner from me, because if my partner really respected the agreement we made between each other in the relationship, no one else would stand a chance. I mean, too many people are so upset at the other person who sleeps with their partner, but not enough understand that this other person isn't to blame because they didn't break any vows or made any promises to you. Even if that person's goal was to convince your partner to sleep with them, knowing they were in a relationship, they might be a terrible person. But even still, the only person at fault is your partner. Homewreckers don't exist because outside of sexual assault, the only person capable of supposedly wrecking your home in that way is the person who helped you build the home in the first place, your partner. So
That part.
right? Like, so as a society, I think we need to start placing the blame in the proper place when cheating happens. Also, I think that for some people, cheating isn't about the actual act itself, but everything surrounding it. Some
Mhm.
people like the adrenaline rush of getting away with something bad or keeping secrets. There are so many different reasons as to why people cheat on their partners, but at the end of the day, when you cheat, you make a choice. No one forced you to break the trust of the relationship you were in. You chose to do that. And if you're in a relationship where you can't be honest with your partner about your grievances or about your lack of satisfaction in whatever area that might be in, maybe you shouldn't be in that relationship in the first place. I mean, bitch, come
Say that
on.
again.
Like, if you don't feel like you can tell this person, hey, these things are not working for me and I'd like you to do X, Y, and Z, if you don't feel that you have enough trust or enough honesty or enough freedom to do that, then bitch, you shouldn't be in this relationship. That's not a
Walk
good
out.
one.
Walk the
Go.
fuck out.
The door, clock out. But Daquon, I wanted to ask you, do you think that a relationship will ever be the same after a major breach of trust, even if you do forgive them?
Absolutely not. It could never. And I'm not even just saying that for me. I'm saying
Yeah.
that for any relationships. Because when you have that breach of trust, it hurts you so bad.
Yeah.
Like it changes everything. Because, like I said before, you start trying to justify it, but
Yep.
you also start to try to figure out if there were warning signs. You start to
Oh,
figure out,
yeah.
you know, were they getting distance? Were they taking longer to reply? Were they staying out late? And when you start doing that, you're going to continue to see different warning signs,
Mm-hmm.
even if there's nothing to be warned about. So that's why for me, it's never going to be the same again. Even if we do become amicable and
Yeah.
we are able to still forge some type of friendship or relationship or
Yeah.
whatever, that level of trust will never happen again. And it's never going to look the same way. And I also think I love that you brought out that important part of how so many people are quick to blame the outside party in that
Yeah.
situation of cheating. Like you see it time and time again. You
Yeah.
have a woman and a man, and the woman always blames the other woman. And it's
Yep.
like, there are certain times when, you gotta beef with that person if they were like your best friend.
Yeah,
But
that's
if they're
different. Yeah.
just some like stranger that you have no type of relationship with, they probably don't even know if you were in a relationship. And even if they did, your main issue should be with your partner, because
Exactly.
that is the person who breached your trust. That is the person who made this agreement with you that you would be exclusive, that you would have this
Mm-hmm.
level of trust in each other to maintain a intimate relationship. And so you will never catch me being like, I don't know who this other person was, but I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna roll up and no, because that's not
Mm.
me.
Mm-mm.
The person that I have a problem with is my partner, and that's who I'm going to solve this issue with.
Exactly. I really never understood that. Like in the movie, it's all the movies, plot lines, so
Every
many
single
movies.
one.
Like
Tyler
so many.
Perry writes
Oh
it
God.
every single.
Like, or like it's always the other woman is so evil and mean and
Mhm.
nasty, or the other person is whatever. And I'm just like, y'all, why the fuck are you trying to beat this bitch's ass? Why are you trying to fight her? Or why is it like you better not talk to my man, you better not fuck my man no more? Bitch, it fucking takes two people. It takes
Right. Tell
two.
your man to be like, I'm in a relationship. I don't want that type of attention. And tell him to leave the situation if it's getting to that point.
Like it is so fucking infuriating. Like I'm so tired of seeing this shit over and over and over and over again. Like when I find this bitch, is gonna be da. And
It's
like you
on
said,
site.
unless it's like a best friend type of situation they cheated on, or like a someone who was close to you, like a family member or something, that's different, because that's like you hurt me. But like you said, if it's a stranger, this bitch don't know you. This bitch don't care about you. This bitch ain't make no kind of fucking promises that this man did. And you jumping on her. And then it's like, you better not see that bitch again, because I'm gonna beat her ass. What? Beat her ass. And like I've always said, it can be hard for a relationship to survive a breach of trust that major, but many people do. We know, we've seen it. However, I think that the relationship will never be the same because of the act. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
there was this crumpled paper exercise that I saw a mother do on her with her kids online to teach her about how bullying can affect someone. You saw that one, Daquon? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, for those of you who don't know, she took a plain piece of paper and told her kids to say mean things to the paper. And at each insult that the children threw at the paper, she crumpled the ball more and more and more until it was in a tight ball. Then she told them to say sorry to the paper and then stretched it back out. Now, after that, she asked the kids if the paper was back to the way it was. She asked them if the paper was back to the way it was before. And they said no, it still had crinkles in it. And she said, that's what happens when you bully someone. You see, just because you say you're sorry doesn't mean everything goes back to the way it was. This is kind of how I look at cheating. Like, while you might be able to forgive someone for breaking your heart, it doesn't erase the pain they caused you. I mean, you can learn to trust them again, but like you said, Daquon, the relationship will never reach that same level of trust it once had, because no matter how much work you do together, how much time you spend, trying to learn to trust them again, and all that good stuff, those crinkles in the paper of your heart will never fully go away. It'll never fully become like a plain piece of paper again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that it changes you forever, and I also think that even with like so many different kind of, couples therapy and everything like that, there's just certain things that you just can't fully heal from. Or even if you
Yeah.
do heal from it, it's still not going to go back to how it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So, in an article written by Chelsea Sanchez, we find out that fame can't solve it all, according to Lizzo. During an interview with Variety, the Good as Hell singer spoke about her mental health journey and the ways being in the public spotlight have or haven't affected her experiences with anxiety and depression. Quote, fame happens to you, and it's more of an observation of you. People become famous, and it's like, my DNA didn't change. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
changed about me, she told the outlet. My anxiety didn't go away. My depression didn't go away. The things I love didn't go away. I'm still myself. But the way y'all look at me and perceive me has changed. It's a very weird kind of formless thing, quote, end quotes. She added that she spoke to her therapist about coming to terms with her former pre fame life. Quote, I don't want to seem ungrateful. It was sad, and I had to talk to my therapist about the loss of who I was. She continued, most famous people have been famous just as long as they've been a person, so they have acclimated more to it. I was going to dive bars getting shit faced in 2018, and nobody knew who I was, and nobody was bothering me. The Grammy winner noted that by 2019, she could no longer go to restaurants with my dancers and stuff. She added, quote, I had to call security and they had to call a car and we had to sit and wait. And I was like, damn, I'm just a burden to my friends and things are different now. It bummed me out because you do lose a sense of privacy in yourself, the old self. I'm good with it now. I'm fine. I'm young. I'm talented. I deserve the attention. End quotes.
Bad bitch energy.
Period. That's what we were talking about last episode with the whole Billie Eilish thing. Like, you need to own yourself.
Own that
Like,
shit.
that's a conversation for a different day. For this conversation, I want to ask you, do you think that fame is really all it's cracked up to be? And is fame something you aspire for in life?
Not even a little. With fame comes a magnifying glass on every single aspect of your life. Everything you say, everything you do, every way you move will be seen and commented on by the masses. Depending on your level of fame, too, you won't be able to go out as freely, just like Lizzo talked about in this article, without security guards surrounding you, your friends, and your family. I mean, friendships after acquiring fame will not be the same either, because money has a funny way of revealing the true nature of people, especially large amounts of it. Also, with your newfound fame, you'll never know if the new friends in your life are real or are just looking at you as a way to elevate themselves into clout chase. Um, a high enough level of fame is actually more isolating than people realize, because while everyone knows who you are, which can be pretty exciting, fans and haters alike can be incredibly overwhelming and sometimes fucking dangerous. Um, Fame can also amplify mental health issues and insecurities, because such a high level of scrutiny by so many fucking people on your looks, your personality, your demeanor can cause people to spiral into self-doubt, depression, like Lizzo said, and sometimes even suicide. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to navigate fame if you're not careful, and if you really fuck up, it can actually swallow you up whole. I mean, but I don't know. See, fame is never and will never be something that I aspire for, because it's not real. Like, it's temporary and it's fleeting. I mean, one minute you're the hottest thing out there, and the next minute you're old news. I mean, it's a fickle creature that's constantly moving and incredibly difficult to keep up with. I mean, even if you're lucky enough to catch it, there's no telling how long you'll keep it. I think the more appropriate aspiration would be lasting success. Like, for my chosen career path, I'd rather have 10,000 loyal supporters of my work and craft than 100,000 people who follow me. I mean, because fans come and go, they shift like the breeze, like a leaf. But if you find loyal supporters of your craft, then baby, I've made it at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that I don't know. I think that people have a misconception about fame and success. Like, sometimes the two words are used interchangeably, and that's not accurate. Like, you can find both financial and career success without being famous. And being famous does not equate to having financial and career success. I mean, if I got famous for my career endeavors, that would be fucking amazing. Being able to reach the masses in such a significant way could open up so many phenomenal career opportunities very quickly, which could get so many balls rolling at one time. However, I'd still feel just as awesome having career success with only a niche audience of people knowing who I am. I mean, I don't need to be mainstream to know that I'm a bad bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like I choose lasting career success over fame any day of the week. But Daquon, I want to pass the question back to you. What do you think?
It's a very interesting question, and I think that there's a lot of layers to it. For me,
nuance, yeah.
A lot of nuance. I think that for me, I've accepted that fame could come from, where I want to be, and I've accepted that. But it's not something that I aspire to. Like, I'm not out here trying to chase fame. Because, like you said, I'm much more worried about success. I want to be successful. And I think that for me, it's not about the fame. It's about having respect. It's about having esteem in your field. Because, you can get famous for anything. Like, literally anything you can get famous for.
It don't move. Yeah.
it don't move. You can get famous for having a sex tape leaked about you. Like, so many different things. But for me, if I get famous, I want it to be tied and connected to my craft and what I do and how people respect what I do and hold a certain level of having that reputation of like just being top of the line in what you do. Like, that I'm fine with getting fame for, but just like everyday run of the mill, no, because fame doesn't get you anything. Yeah, it may help you open a door because you're famous and people know your name. And so they may take a little opportunity, give you it. But if you don't have that respect, if you don't have that talent, those opportunities are going to stop coming. So it may get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you in the building, as they say. And so
no, Daquon, you need to say that one more time, bitch. You need to say that, run that back, bitch.
We're running it back. Fame may get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you in the building. Because if you're just famous, like, yes, you have name notoriety or whatever, but it's really how you treat people. It's really how much time you devote to your craft. It's really thinking about who you are as a person, because there are so many famous people that frankly are assholes. Like, you don't want to work with them. But somebody who has true respect is somebody that cares about the people around them, is really bringing up other people, and you have so much respect for them because A, they're talented, but also B, they're a good fucking person. And so that is what I want to be. And because, like you said, when all of your business is out there in the public eye for all different types of critique and criticism, that can weigh heavy on your mental health. But if I know that I'm respected in my field and that I have some type of presence in my field, it doesn't matter what outsiders say, because for the people who actually matter to me, they know who I am and they have respect for me.
I fully agree with that. And I really want to go back to that part where you said like fame will get you in the door, but it won't keep you in the building. Like, I think that people really don't understand that, like, when you're famous, or when you get famous for something that's not like a career thing, you are kind of riding a wave that will eventually go down. And if you don't have any talent to back it up, that wave is going to flow flat and you're going to be in still water again. If you want to keep those waves going and you want to keep things moving, you have to have something to add to it. You have to have something to add to, okay, yes, I got famous for this one little thing here, but I'm going to use that viral video, or I'm going to use this X, Y, and Z thing to propel me more and more forward. I thought about this a little while back too. You have to be very intentional when you are creating content, because I don't think a lot of people understand that how the fame machine, the viral machine works. And you want to make sure that whatever work you put out, whatever video you do is representative of what your brand is, right? So like if you are a singer, but you only make videos on TikTok that are like, oh, it's funny this, funny that, I'm making jokes about this and the fourth or whatever, I'm talking about TV shows and stuff like that, and that video pops off and people are following you, you get a mass of comments, all that stuff like that, and then you post, okay, well, I do music too, by the way. People are like, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit.
Who cares?
Who is exactly? For me, I have a very personal relationship with this particular aspect because a while back I had a my YouTube channel. I did a video about Charmed, right? The Charmed reboot, and I was just going in, just not being a great person. I was young, bitch. I was younger. I didn't say things in the way that I would normally do it, and with a more thoughtfulness to it. I was kind of like, oh, I don't like it. Let me tell you how much I don't like it, right? Right. And then I was realizing that I had like my video had got like 10,000, 20,000 views. And I was like, oh shit. Like, okay, girl, like I'm here now. I've arrived, and I started making more videos about Charmed and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, let me talk about the old show. And I was seeing those numbers and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting the followers. I'm getting the comments. I'm like, bitch, I'm here now. I'm in the door. And then I made my monologue videos that got no views. Then I did my actual reviews of TV shows where I'm coming from a more respectful, more critiquing place, not a criticism kind of place. And no views, not really any. And then I literally had someone comment on my old video a while back that was like it was like, because this was like a couple of years back, but they commented, they were like, where the fuck is the Charm videos? We don't really care about this. And like that shit crushed me. It crushed me because I was like, oh, so I had to go back and delete all those videos. I had to rebrand myself. And yeah, I might have a certain amount of followers on my YouTube channel, but those followers came from those Charm videos that I did. And so even though I have like 900 or so followers on there, my videos are not doing the same, aren't doing those numbers in the view count. And I had to realize in that moment, I was like, I fucked up because I wasn't intentional with what I put out. And so you have to be very careful and make sure that everything that you're putting out, everything that you're putting into your thing is reflective of what you are as a brand, what you are trying to do with your life, because you never know what video is going to pop off. And you want to make sure that whatever video that you do that does pop off or that does get some heavy traction is going to bring in the followers that are going to watch all of your other content as well. Does that make sense, Daquon? Am I you hearing me right now? You see what I'm saying?
The math is mathing, the logic is logicking. And I think that it's a very important conversation to have in really curating your brand. What are you about? What message are you trying to sending out? And like, I know I've done that for myself. It's like, for me, a lot of what I post on social media has to do with makeup. And if it's not anything, you are going to see me in a look. And like, that is enough for me. I'm not out here posting all different types of random things because I know people have followed me for a certain reason. Exactly. And they're going to watch me for that reason. Of course, once you start having, a relationship with people and people may have came for X reason, but they're really staying for your personality, XYZ. And you have that wiggle room to branch out into some other things. But when you are first starting out and when you first have something like blow up, you have to focus on whatever you did in that. And I also think that it's very important to not only understand your brand, but understand how you can pivot your brand. I see a lot of times, people will have like these viral social media, like a TikTok dance or something like that. And they understand that like that kind of viral fame can only last so long. So they try to like transition into something else. Like maybe they do some type of reality TV or try to do acting, or, when like Vine stars try to move to YouTube and all of those different things, it's like, you were known for a certain type of content. And so when you try to branch out, you need to be able to know that that type of content that you were doing before can transfer. It's a transferable skill. And not everybody who, is a fun TikTok personality is a good actor. And so you have them going into acting, and you see the movie, you see the TV show or whatever, and it's like, ugh, that was rough. That was a choice to do. You made a choice, and it wasn't a good choice. And so that's why it's important to always understand how you can pivot yourself out of certain things. So if you are very passionate about something right now, understand the different ways that you can create branches and feel around different paths for yourself. So you're not stuck in that one thing that you have to do all the time.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like it really, and I love that part about pivoting your brand and understanding it, because I think that when I was younger, when I made this particular video, I didn't fully understand what my brand was, what I was trying to bring to the table. And
Mhm.
now, you know, in these recent years, I've learned what I want to bring to the table. I've learned what my brand is. So now, like I said before, I'm being more intentional with what I post, what I bring to the table. I'm being more intentional if I get some traction on the video that I do, and understanding, okay, you can make this many videos about that, but then pop off and go do something else. Because you want, what I'm trying to learn, like I said before, and like I think you pointed this out too, you want to make sure that you are getting people to fall in love with you in what
Right.
you do. Because if you have those, like I said, the difference between fans and supporters, because fans can be, I had fans of my charm videos, but I didn't
Right.
have any supporters of my personhood or my content. So you have to understand, like, you are making content, you are creating this brand of whatever you are. If you're a singer and you pop off of making a joke about something, okay, yeah, make that joke and that was funny. You can comment, you can respond to a few comments, but then get back into your singing shit. Then get back into
Right.
doing covers, because you need to make sure that people understand, hey, yeah, I made this one video about this, but understand that that's just one aspect of the entire brand that I'm bringing to you. So I might do this sometimes, but this is the main focus. Or I may do this, but I also do that and that and that and that. It's about diversifying what it is that you're bringing to the table, diversifying your platform, understanding how to translate what you do into multiple different ways: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Once you know who you are, it's really easy to help other people see that as well.
Amen. Now, the table is always hot with current events and social issues, but sometimes they can get a little intense. Let's turn the temp down, take a breather, and get into this week's topic cooldown. So, Andre, I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you, which of these, and you can only choose one, is most important for you to save? Your money, your time, or your energy?
Um, I think saving your energy is the most important thing, because in doing that, you're able to do the other two as well. Like, understanding when to conserve your energy helps you navigate how much time you spend on certain things, when to do certain things, and to what degree you do it. And understanding when to utilize that energy can help you delegate how much you work, or more efficient ways to help you earn money. There's no real way to save time, because time is always going, it's always moving. And for me, time feels more like a countdown than anything else. You're
Mhm.
always in a race to get things done before your time in this world runs out. And money is the same way. Like, you can save for a rainy day all you like, but eventually that money needs to be allocated to buy something. Money and time both cap out at a certain point. But energy is the driving force behind passion, behind love and ambition, and hell, even the will to live. I mean, it's the very spark that life is made of, the essence of being alive. It's a lot. It's a lot. And this losing time is hard, but it's unavoidable, because time waits for no one.
Right.
Not having money can be devastating, because the amount of money you have directly dictates your quality of life. But without energy, you could have all the money and time in the world, but nothing will matter, because you'll be empty on the inside. I mean, I know this is supposed to be a cool down discussion, but this particular question hit me close to home, Daquon. Like, you really have to protect and save your energy, because if you give it out to the wrong people or the wrong things in your life, you could lose yourself. And once you've done that, it's hell trying to remember and recover who that was or who you were, But Daquon, I want to pass this back to you, bitch. I don't want to get too emotional up over here, but what you think, bitch? Which one is more important to save?
I completely agree with you. Like, I think it's no surprise that I would choose saving my energy. As I've said time and time before, like, I'm an energy person. I have really strong boundaries. I am a Capricorn with a heavy air sign stellium in my chart. Like, I need my space. I need my energy. And like, if you are disrupting that, I'm leaving. I'm going, cutting the cord. Where's my sis? Cutting the cord. But as you said, energy is so important to everything that you do. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the energy, what's the point? You can have all the time in the world, but again, if you don't have that energy, you're not going to get out of bed in the morning. You're going to, just stay there, stay wherever you were. And frankly, that's the same as having zero time, is to have zero energy, because you have nothing to do during that time. And so it's also very important to save your energy, because I think of energy as, even though it's renewable, it's still somewhat finite.
Yeah.
You can give your energy, but if you give your energy too much, you will burn yourself out. And there have been plenty of times when I have experienced burnout, and it doesn't matter. It's not a video game where you can go to sleep and, all your hearts and your energy and your life force, recharges. Because once you hit that block of, burnout, it is so hard to recover your energy back to where it was before, if you ever recover it to that point. And it's also, one of the most precious things. Like, I really value people who, put their energy into what I do and like who I am. Like, that's one of the most valuable gifts you can give somebody, is your energy, because it's going to encompass your time, and it may encompass, your money, and it shows that you care about them. You have, assigned a level of high worth, because you giving out your energy can, help replenish somebody else's energy. Like, I know for me, like, there are some times when I just need somebody to be there and just like give me positive vibes, give me that good energy, and like spend their energy on me. And that can help me get out of whatever funk that I was in and help me recharge my energy. But you can't do that if you don't have energy to give in the first place.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that people don't understand about how to like delegate how much energy they give out to people. Because like for me, I was sometimes I was overdoing it, giving energy to a lot of people, so much time, so much of myself into people. I was pouring so much of myself into everybody, this friend, that friend, this friend, that friend. And I was realizing that by the time I was done pouring for everybody else, my glass was empty.
Right.
I had nothing to sip on. I had nothing to take. I had nothing to revitalize me. And I was realizing that a lot of people in my life were not returning that energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to give to someone and have a symbiotic relationship. So I give you good vibes, you give me good vibes. I give you compliments, you give me compliments. I give you whatever. So we are kind of synergy. You're working together. You're becoming like a wildfire instead of, I think we talked about this before, but like, I think relationships should be like, gasoline and fire. Like, together they just become bigger, better, stronger and stronger, right?
Right.
But fire and water don't mix. You know what I'm saying? It takes away, one of them takes away from the other. One of them absorbs the other or whatever. And it's just like, what I was realizing for me is that there were just so many people who were just taking. And I was just giving and giving and giving. And like I said, there was nothing left for me. There was no celebration left from my accomplishments. There was no self-confidence in me, because I was giving it to everyone. And it's like, you really have to give yourself your flowers. You really,
Right.
really have to say, bitch, you are that one. You really have to pour into you, because if you don't have those friends, or you don't have that boyfriend or partner, or you don't have a family who's really close or whatever, then what energy do you have left? You have nothing but yourself. And if you're pouring it all into strangers who don't care about you, then you're just empty. And like I said before, I was running on an empty tank for a long, long time. I was kind of high functioning in that. And I just had to kind of really take a breather and say, I need to take time to fall in love with me. And I know that sounds so fucking cliche, bitch, but like, I mean,
It's the truth.
it's the truth. It really is the truth. It sounds so fucking like, like rom-com type of thing, but like,
Right.
honestly, like, you really have to take yourself out on dates, take yourself out to just spend time with you, going to somewhere just to spend time with yourself and just enjoying being with yourself. Because I think people understand the idea of loving yourself, but also enjoying being with yourself. Like, you are really thoroughly enjoying being on your own. You're saying, bitch, I might be alone, but I'm not lonely. I'm having a great time. I'm having a lovely time. And I think that that's what a lot of people run into. What do you think, Daquon? Like,
I agree. And I think that part of like, kind of dating yourself is so important, because I remember when I first moved to New York, I had this teaching job and I was giving all my energy to it because like that's like what I wanted to do. And there would be times when I felt like I wasn't, achieving what other people wanted me to achieve. And I was giving and giving and giving of my energy, but also not having that support to just like recharge. And
exactly.
then there was this, and then I left and was unemployed for like a month. And I honestly found so much of myself. I found so much creativity. I found so much love and just like a place of healing during that time, because during that I had all the time in the world. And the only thing, the only person, the only thing that I needed to give energy towards was, finding a job. But that wasn't like, I always had confidence that like I can interview well, that I can, make something happen. And I just, had my faith that it would happen. And so I wasn't spending so much energy on that, but rather giving energy to myself. And I had that time to just explore the city, see sights that I never saw before, and understand who I was as a person. I had so many times when I took myself to just like walk in Central Park, read a book, chill out, watch the sky, figure out what I wanted to do in life and the person that I wanted to be, and feed all of that energy into myself. And it was so rewarding. It was, honestly, one of the most rewarding parts of moving, because I finally had that time and that space to do it. And so there was a lot of dark times. There was a lot of times when I was like, should I have even moved here? Like, why am I not like back home or, doing something safe, something like that? But having that time to really recharge and put energy into myself allowed me to be like, hey, like, it was a rough transition. We all know that, but you got this. You can do it. And it, put that fire under me to like really start pursuing my passions and makeup, and really start, thinking more about content creation and, getting a professional license and all of that different things. And that wouldn't have happened if I was constantly, coming home after a long day of teaching with no energy to give to anyone, not even myself.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this part I'm about to say here, because I know this probably gonna be a whole other episode, but I really do think that, when it comes to career paths and it comes to like, things like, passions and stuff like that, you know, taking a risk on yourself is one of the hardest things that you're gonna do. Believing in yourself, because it's so easy to take the practical route. It's so easy to do the safe thing, keep the safe job, because yeah, it might stress you out, but the money's good, or the whatever. But then you realize, like you just said, that you're not happy, that you're not genuinely feeling that sense of fulfillment. And I think that there are days, ooh, bitch, and like I said, I'm not gonna get too deep into it. I'm not gonna get too there. But
We're
like
gonna
I
skim the
said,
surface.
just skim the surface on it. But there are days where I'm just like, like you said, the same thing. Like, did I make the right decision with this? Is this the right choice? And it's like, all I can think about in my life is, when I look into my future, is there's nothing else I'd rather do. But I can't get into that too much. That's gonna be another episode for you. But so
You gotta
many
follow to see that episode.
exactly, please. But so many children grow up never knowing the full scope of what their culture has contributed to society and history. So it's time for a change. Let's take a pause, rewind, and remind the world just how we did that. In an article written on blackpast.org, contributed by George Tambin, we learn about Robert Sinsgate Abbott. In May 1905, he started publishing the Chicago Defender. In the early years, he personally sold subscriptions to the paper and advertising by going door to door. The paper attacked racial injustice, particularly lynching in the South. Many places in the South effectively banned the paper, especially when, during World War I, Abbott actively tried to convince Southern Blacks to migrate to the North. Abbott managed to get railroad porters to carry his papers south, and he ran articles, editorials, cartoons, even train schedules and job listings to convince the Defender's Southern readers to come north. The Great Northern Migration, as it was called in the Defender, resulted in more than 1 million African Americans migrating north, about 100,000 of them coming to Chicago. The Defender was passed from person to person and read aloud in barbershops and churches. It is estimated that at its height, each paper was sold and read by 4 to 5 African Americans, putting its readership at over 500,000 people each week. Now, in the burgeoning times of the economics in 1920, with hundreds of new products and growth of advertising, the Defender became an economic success. And Abbott, he became one of the first African American millionaires. Black people.
Say it. Black people.
Black people.
But I also love this we did that because I knew about Abbott before and the Defender because, AFAM major. But I love it because it really shows the power of Black publications. Like, one of the reasons that I got into, African American studies as a field was I loved going into the archives and like seeing all of these, original copies of small Black publications and presses and just like seeing what they were doing for the Black community. And I was like, it sparked something in me. Even my advisor would tell you that like when I got onto some, Black magazines and Black publications, I was reading into so much because it just opens your world so much. So love that. Love to hear it. And my We Did That comes from CNN's Profiles of Perseverance, where we learned that for much of the mid 1900s, it seemed like the world learned about Black America through the eyes of Gordon Parks. His creative endeavors were astoundingly versatile. Parks performed as a jazz pianist, composed musical scores, wrote 15 books, and co founded Essence magazine. He adapted his novel The Learning Tree into a 1969 film, becoming the first African American to direct a movie for a major studio, and later directed Shaft, a hit film that spawned the blaxploitation genre. He but he reached his artistic peak as a photographer, and his intimate photos of African American life are his most enduring legacy. In the decades that followed, Parks traveled the country capturing iconic images of the segregated South, the civil rights movement, and such figures as Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. His images now grace the permanent collections of many major art museums.
Daquon, you know what I really love is when I hear first. When I hear
Well,
that, like that shit, it hit different, bitch. It hit
it
all the way
do.
different.
The
Like the
first
first.
African American to direct a major movie.
He said, "Who gonna check me, boo?"
Right.
Black people, black people, black people, black people, black people.
Per.
Now, as always, thank you all so much for watching and keep the conversation going down in the comment box below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you are listening to us on our podcast, please rate and review on whatever platform you're using. You can also follow our podcast on Instagram and TikTok at the Melanin Margin for updates of new content.
And if you like to follow each of us, our handles are at Daquon MUE
and at Andre Talks a Lot.
Now we will see you all next week on the Melanin Margin, where our goal is always to bring the marginalized to the spotlight in any way we can. Goodbye now.